The VO Meter, measuring your voiceover progress. Whether you're a veteran voice actor, just starting out, or don't even know how to set a level, we're here to help you avoid the pitfalls along your voiceover path to success. The VO Meter is brought to you by Global Voice Acting Academy, JMC Demos, Web Interactive Technologies, Fidalgo, Roswell Pro Audio, and Vocal Booth to Go. The VO Meter is produced in part using Source Connect, made by source-elements.com. And now, your hosts, Paul Stefano and Sean Daly.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 127 of the VO Meter.
Measuring your voiceover progress. We've got a series of interesting shows where there's a bunch of personal connections to me. Oh, wait, that's what we always do.
You always find some way to find a connection.
Yeah, but this one involves one of my oldest friends and fraternity brother and roommates from college, Mr. Derrick Praylow, also known as DSMOOVE. He's been a DJ in the DC market for over 30 years, and we're going to talk to him about what it's like to be a DJ and how that relates, or maybe doesn't, to voiceover.
But before that, it's time for our VO Meter reference levels.
The VO Meter reference levels. Seriously, guys, that's the best you could come up with? Hey, it's your show.
So first of all, we have to announce some news. We're going to be canceling or changing the intro because John Florian has retired and is closing up shop on VoiceOver Extra. So congratulations to John for a long and storied career, and I wish him the best in whatever he's doing next. I think it's something to do with writing, actually.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for all the years of maintaining the site, and it was a huge resource for me. I know I read all of the articles religiously on there while I was learning to become a voice talent, and he helped coordinate some of the first voice conferences, like the Voice Conference. So I can't thank you enough for everything you did, John, and enjoy your retirement.
But thanks to John, I agree. I use VoiceOver Extra a lot. I wrote some blogs for it early on in my career, and he's been featuring our website link for like 6 years now. So thanks so much to John for promoting the podcast. And again, I wish you well. But other than that, Sean, what's going on in your VO world?
Well, I just finished working on a luxury hotel commercial for an international client that I found on Fidalgo. They were lovely to work with, and hopefully they got everything they needed, and we'll work together on some future projects soon.
Can you say what it is?
It's called Hotel Alpin. So it's very, I don't know, they wanted like sort of a luxury experience in the middle of the wilderness. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, but congratulations.
Well, thank you. No, it was a really fun gig. It was kind of like, how would you say, like almost anthemic, like inspiration. Go out there into the woods for a luxury experience, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed doing it. So on the GVA front, we've been doing a lot of webinars and workshops lately. I just finished doing a tour of dialects workshop with Tom Antonellis. That was a lot of fun. I got to put my linguistics hat on and practice IPA and a few popular accents throughout the United States. We also had Debbie Derryberry do a webinar on bringing the sparkle to your auditions, so whether it be commercial or animation. And then next month, I'm going to be working with Liam O'Brien of Critical Role fame on how to improve your auditions for Inside the Audition Room. So really exciting stuff. And I'm going to VO Atlanta next week, so I've been busy prepping for that and meeting with David Toback and David Rosenthal to talk about how we're going to present ourselves in the exhibit hall next week. Oh, and one last thing that I almost forgot to talk about. Episode 2 of Moxie Monroe Private Eye, the audio drama, is now available to be listened to on all of your favorite listening platforms. So check it out if you like film noir and D&D or both. So we'd love for you to check it out. So what about you, Paul?
Well, first of all, congratulations on all those things. Tom is great. We have worked together kind of when I was working with VO Rep a couple of years ago now, the repertory company that Tara Langella ran. And she's still doing it, but we just have a very long hiatus. We did a 5-part audio drama that Tom was a part of. We never actually did any sessions together, but he was the narrator, and he did an awesome job. It was an old school sort of Hanna-Barbera voice, like from the old Scooby-Doo or Flintstone cartoons. He was doing that kind of 50s. And now, stay tuned for more crazy action. That voice, which I could do too, but I was already in like doing three other characters. So Tom did the narrator, and it was fantastic. So check that out if you haven't. It's vorep.com, or you can find it on YouTube. And you like how I complimented you and then turned it into promotion for me?
Absolutely. No, as usual.
Yeah. And what the hell was the other thing you said? There was VO Rep and...
Debbie Derryberry and Liam O'Brien.
Oh, VO Atlanta. Yeah, and I was thinking about VO Atlanta. I am not going this year, unfortunately. So I will have major FOMO next week as everybody's posting from there. But I just got back from a conference myself, which I'll talk about in a second. So not in the cards for me this year. But you have fun, and hopefully it's fruitful for you.
Well, thank you. Well, aren't you doing Vocation as well? So
I am not doing that one.
I should be jealous of you.
I'm not doing that one either. I was thinking about it, but the cars didn't align. The stars didn't align for that one because I just have too many sporting events going on. And there's a new one I'll talk about in a second, too. So, anyway, First things first, I want to talk about this audiobook that I start working on today because I like it so far. It's really cool. Not that I don't like most projects I work with, but this one is particularly cool. It's called Take Breaks, Work Better. And it's about a fascinating book, actually, about how working too much and the grind-it-out mentality, mostly in the Western society, the U.S. in particular, is really more detrimental than good, and how there's science that actually proves that it's more productive to do a 3x3 method of working hard, taking a break, working hard again in the same day, and being more productive in the end because your brain just literally can't handle what has become the traditional 40-hour, 8 hours a day work week because it's just not good for your brain. So working and taking actual breaks like napping, listening to music, gardening, walking your dog, things that are not technology related is much better for you as a productivity tool than actually just grinding it out and working. Well, some people would work 80, 100 hours a week, including the author of this book. He's a CPA who's recovered from that lifestyle. He's still a CPA, but he says, and I think he's right, that this kind of program that he's developed is actually better for you. So that's been really cool so far.
No, I'm living proof of that because, I mean, kind of with my freelancing schedule between like my VO work and GVAA, I usually work 2 to 4 hours at a time and then take a little break, and then 2 to 4 hours at a time and take a little break. Like, I don't know. I love that I have that option, and honestly, I wish everyone did.
Yeah, I agree. I've been doing it too, and I think I talked about this now. Sometimes I'll get the side eye from my wife, who's also a CPA, and right now is working somewhere in the area of 65 to 70 hours a week. And sometimes
Good
I'll
Lord.
be taking a nap noon in the afternoon because I've had 2 hours of recording, or I have to go to 8 hours of announcing, and I know I need the rest. So I've been doing that as well. And now I have published proof that this works, and I plan to show my wife, Jen, that this is the way it should be. This is the way, as Mando would say in The Mandalorian.
Indeed. I understood that reference.
Very good. So other things work-wise going on. I've been doing a lot of lacrosse announcing. I just got back yesterday from the Washington Nationals preseason training. They start in a week, as does all Major League Baseball, so I'll be doing some of that. And I have a new baseball gig, actually. I just got hired to be the announcer for the Bethesda Big Train, which is an independent team in the Cal Ripken Baseball League, which is for players who are not drafted or not in the major leagues, but are out of college or in college and looking to get more exposure. So that is short season. It starts in June and goes till the end of July. So it's about 25 games total. Not a huge commitment, but it is cool that I get to be on the mic for doing more baseball because I didn't have much lined up other than the fill-in for the Nationals. So I'm pretty excited about that. And what else? There's something else I want to talk about. And then I mentioned the conference I got back from was the Reed Awards, where I was co-emceeing the actual award show and got to go to the rest of the conference. So I think I mentioned before, but for those who don't know, the Reed Awards is a conference/gala and ceremony of all the political consultants in the country and sometimes internationally, done by the publication Campaigns and Elections. And it starts out with a conference on the first day and then a networking party and happy hour at the end. more conference the following day. At the end is the ceremony. That's a gala, sort of like the Golden Globes or the Oscars, where there's some poor idiot up on stage talking and trying to entertain people while giving out the awards for the best in political TV ads, radio, online campaigns, you name it. And this year that idiot was me, plus Casey Hott, who co-hosted with me. And by all accounts, it went pretty well. I started off the night by doing a Bruce Buffer-ish impersonation where I literally jumped on the stage and started screaming, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the 2026 Reed Award!" And a little bit longer than that. And then we went into the actual presentation of the awards. By all accounts, it was successful. Some of our friends were there. I talked to J. Michael Collins afterwards. Samit Iyengar was there from Cope Talent Management. He said it went well. I don't think they were lying to me. I think they were genuinely impressed.
Excellent.
And we had a good time. We met some people that might end up getting us work later, and hopefully that's the case, because that's really the whole reason, is to go there and showcase what we can do as voice actors. I went the last 2 years and just attended, and I would try and pass out business cards and say, "Hey, check out my website." But I, in my mad scientist, evil genius sort of way, I got to make sure everybody heard my voice by being the co-host.
Brilliant marketing, indeed.
Thank you.
Planting those seeds.
And also, Sean, you might find this interesting. While I was at the Reed Awards, I met with GVAA member Tom Downs, who was a guest on the show a couple of months ago, also one of my fraternity brothers and oldest friends. So he lives in Charleston, or just outside, and that's where the Reed Awards were this year. So we got together for lunch and reminisced. I hadn't seen him since college, which we kind of thought was hard to believe. But, I mean, didn't skip a beat. He picked me up from the hotel, and I was thinking, am I even going to recognize this dude I haven't seen in 30 years? So he pulled up, and it was like no time whatsoever had passed. Kind of like the conversation we had with Derrick, although we tried to keep it professional. There was definitely some comical things in there that were reminiscing. And then we talked about Derrick as well with Tom, because he was best friends with him also. So really cool to catch up with Tom. And he had just the night before done the session with Steve Pogash. So we talked about that too, and got to talk about GVA some more.
That's awesome.
And one other thing I wanted to mention, we recently started a new Facebook group to go along with the podcast. It's called the VO Meter, go figure. And currently we have 65 members, which is pretty cool. A lot came from me just spewing out invitations to people. But tell your friends, have them join the group. I try to post some discussions in there every day or every couple of days. And there's been some cool stuff. Like just today, I asked if people process their auditions before they send them out, and got some cool responses. One from...
you got a gamut of opinions.
Yeah, you saw those? Yeah, one was actually from Kevin West, who runs VO Planet, a casting site. So I was really interested to hear his comments, because one of the things I was asking was, do you do it differently for online casting versus agents? Because I do, and I don't know if that's something other people do, because my premise was that people who buy, the buyers or the people who hire people on the casting sites, aren't necessarily the same ones who are working for an agency. They may not have the same ear. They may be an intern working for a company who, sells paint, and they have no idea what even a voiceover is. So my thought was to make it sound as on-air ready for those ears on the casting sites. And then some people, thinking specifically Bill Carl, who's a pro out of Tampa, Florida, said, "Oh, I don't agree with that premise. I wouldn't put processing on anything, because I always assume the people that are listening know what they're listening for." So your mileage may vary, as always, but please go to Facebook, sign up for the VO Meter group, and if you're a real person and not an AI bot, I will let you in.
Yeah, please join the group. And it was a really interesting discussion, because for me, I'm kind of like, it's funny, like my friend Jim Edgar was like, if it's, usually I leave it unprocessed, but if it's an audiobook, I'll process it to ACX specs. And that's not something I've been doing for my audition. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I'm not booking more often on that platform.
Yeah, I saw that
but
too.
When it comes to commercial, I have a stack prepared for that, because I expect it to be processed in the final thing. And I want to give them that option if they're interested.
Yeah, me too. I work the same way. And I had the same thought. I thought, oh, crap, I don't do that for audiobooks. But yeah, again, your mileage may vary, and I'm curious to see where that conversation goes, and all the new ones. And then finally, I recorded my new demo with J. Michael Collins, or JMC Demos is the actual company name. They are a sponsor of the show, as you might have noticed. And I recorded a promo demo. I've been doing promo coaching with Jack Daniel and Marie Westbrook, which I think we talked about, which is one of the reasons they were our last two guests. And I recorded the demo on, what was that, Thursday? Wednesday morning, with A.J. McKay directing. Now, wasn't sure if this would work, but I asked JMC if I could have A.J. direct, because the first demo I did with them was technically not with JMC, although A.J. works with them too, but I did one with just A.J. a couple of years ago. This was an imaging demo, and it was the most fun I've had doing any recording session. So I said, hey, could you have A.J.? And again, JMC was there, and he certainly contributed, but A.J. sort of took the reins, and we had a blast. It's the second most fun I've had doing a demo, other than that imaging demo, only because it's later chronologically. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do a demo, do it with people who, one, know you, who, two, you like, and three, you can have fun with. Because if you're not having fun, I really don't think there's any reason to be working with that person. And
Well, yeah, and it'll show on the demo.
yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, you should cut out the laughing and jokes, because there was plenty of that. And hopefully they'll cut those out. But yeah, literally almost rolling around laughing in here in the booth while doing it it's just so comforting, because your performance comes out when you're much more comfortable. It'll be better. So I don't expect it anytime soon, because JMC runs VO Atlanta with his wife Anna runs it, and he just sort of helps. But they are the defining people that organize VO Atlanta, so I don't expect it in the next week or two. But hopefully sometime in April, I'll have the results, and I will certainly play it on here until you're all sick of hearing it.
Getting that voice out there again.
Absolutely.
So that wraps up our VO meter reference levels. No gear or questionable gear purchases this month, but we'll be right back after our interview, after these messages.
How many times has this happened to you? You're listening to the radio when this commercial comes on, not unlike this one, and this guy starts talking, not unlike myself.
Or maybe it's a woman that starts talking, not unlike myself, and you think to yourself, geez, I could do that.
Well, mister, well, missy, you just got one step closer to realizing your dream as a voiceover artist, because now there's Global Voice Acting Academy. All the tools and straight-from-the-hip, honest information you need to get on a fast track to doing this commercial yourself.
Well, not this one exactly.
Classes, private coaching, webinars, home studio setup, marketing and branding help, members-only benefits like workouts, rate and negotiation advice, practice scripts, and more. All without the kind of hype you're listening to right now. Go ahead, take our jobs from us. We dare you.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I like what I do.
And you will too when you're learning your craft at Global Voice Acting Academy. Find us at globalvoiceacademy.com.
Because you like to have fun.
Hey, it's Paul here with an endorsement of Bidalgo. I've been a member of Bidalgo for almost 10 years now. I remember putting in an application when I first started, getting a personal reply from Armin Hirschstetter, the founder, and being blown away by the personal service. Turns out that's just how he runs the business. Honestly, efficiently, and with great customer service. Bidalgo focuses on voice seekers rather than voice talents. Their award-winning online casting finds the perfect voice for every project. There's more than 12,000 professional voice actors, free casting, and it's insanely easy and fun to use. Thanks, Bidalgo, for being a sponsor of the VO Meter.
Walgreens, because it's flu season, and you live in a place with doorknobs and handrails and, people.
We tried booking a vacation rental on one of those other websites. They don't always tell you everything.
The stars take it to the red carpet.
We are back live from the red carpet.
California leads the way for change in America, and so does Kamala Harris.
Rated M for mature. Claire Redfield.
And who exactly are you?
So, yeah, what hashtag should I use to describe a grown man in a tuxedo wrestling a goat?
And prior to 1933, many of them belonged to a variety of political parties that were now outlawed in Germany.
This is the story of how Q got curly. Quinn was crazy about curls. Curly fries, curly straws, curly-haired dogs.
Hey, Jay Michael here. Thanks for listening to the VO Meter podcast. It's one of my favorites. If you're looking for a great demo like the ones you just heard, check out jmcdemos.com for more information.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the interview portion of the VO Meter. Today, we're pleased to welcome Derrick Praylow. Derrick was born and raised in the DMV and always wanted to be on the radio since age 14. He graduated from Towson State University, which is now Towson University. Incidentally, is playing in the semifinals of the CAA men's basketball tournament. Woo! Coming up at 8:30 tonight. His degree was in mass communications, and he's been at Hot 99.5 since Hot was born in 2001. Derrick also happens to be one of my oldest friends and college roommate and fraternity brother, so I thought it'd be cool to have him on to talk about his radio career. So please welcome Derrick Praylow.
Thank you. You know, I was about to ask, who are you talking about? Because it's my government name. And I'm like, no one calls me that in radio ever.
So what is your radio DJ name? I know it, but why don't you tell the listeners?
It's DSMOOVE, DSMOOVE. Some people like to put the TH in and it annoys me, but smooth with a V.
I hear the difference, man. It's smooth moves, man. I love it.
Exactly. But it's good to be with you guys, and thanks for inviting me on.
You too, man. Our pleasure. So tell us how you got started in radio in the first place.
Well, as Paul said in that little bio that I need to work on, I was around 14 years old. You know, I always listened to the radio and thought the DJs, they just sounded so cool on the radio. So around age 14, I decided to write a letter in. The main guy back then was Donnie Simpson, since I'm in the D.C. area. So I decided to write a letter to him and ask him if I could come in and interview him. And, you know, when you write stuff, you know, write letters to these guys, sometimes they don't answer. And I was actually shocked that he responded and said yes, and I could come in and do it. So me and my mom went down and he let me interview him. I saw how, you know, it was inside the radio station. Donnie was a DJ and Tony Perkins was his producer at the time. So that made me love radio even more. And I decided to study it at Towson, where I met Paul, and mass communications was my road. I've loved radio ever since and got my degree in mass communications. And of course, I worked at the campus radio station, WTMD, and took the radio classes. And then I did an internship at 92Q. And that's pretty much how I got locked in. When I graduated, I stayed at 92Q and went to Jam at 99.5 after that, which turned into Hot 99.5 in 2001. And I've been there for coming up on 25 years.
That's amazing. We should mention, in the start, I mentioned DMV. That stands for, what is it exactly? Is it Delmarva or is it Delaware, Maryland, Virginia? Delmarva, right?
DMV is DC, Maryland,
DC,
Virginia.
Okay. I got it all wrong. So
I was like, were you raised at the Department of Motor Vehicles? How does that work?
Right, DMV, yeah, exactly.
So your radio station is based in the D.C. area. It covers the D.C. market. I can hear it here, but not great. Sometimes it comes in and out because I'm in Baltimore, as our listeners know, and you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it comes in. But I do try and tune in whenever I think you're on. I did hear you this week during one of the drive times. I was coming back from some crazy event. So always
cool.
Great to hear my friends on the air. It's fantastic.
Yep, station is in Rockville, Maryland.
There we go. Well, that's why I could hear it, because I was in nearby Bethesda.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Cool.
So talking about radio and going back to your degree, by the way, Derrick, even though I was living with him at the time, he's still one of my idols because I had the same degree. We were in a lot of the same classes. And I mentioned this about other things with media, too. I don't know where the hell I went wrong because I know you on the radio. Our mutual friend Priestley was on XM Sirius and the drive time guy in Baltimore for a long time. I have a friend who was at Comcast Sportsnet, which is a local regional sports network. You probably know him, too, Brent Harris. I think he's done some ESPN as well. I knew a guy who was the lead photographer at the local ABC affiliate, so I don't know where the hell I went wrong, but...
it's hard to get in it, man.
Well, that's true, but I'm glad it worked out for you. So talking about coming up and learning skills, what skills are most important to being a radio personality?
Well, I guess being flexible, you know, being able to think on your feet, of course, knowledge of the equipment, and got to know what you're doing, you know, the equipment you're using, able to edit quick, you know, on the fly. You do a contest, you usually have 6 minutes to edit the phone call and put it on the air. You got to be, you know, pretty flexible with that. And,
wait, that's not live? I wonder how people, I wonder how many people don't know
you
this.
Told us?
Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Well, let me say this. The morning show is probably live, but everybody else and, you know, weekends, that's taped. And that's just because somebody curse, you can bleep it out and all that stuff. And we do have a dump button, but I rather, you know, just tape it and make sure. And sometimes they suck on the air too. So if they suck on the air, I would just announce the winner and just keep it moving.
I was shocked the first time I figured that out. It was probably a radio class that's how you do a phone call. You record it while the next song's playing and then cut it, play it back, and that's how it works. I did not know that was the case when I was learning about radio to begin with.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, be conversational, and, you know, they always say pretend you're talking to one person and not the 500,000 that are listening to the radio. But those are important skills I think to have as well.
Nice. Well, let's talk about how you got those skills to begin with, because you mentioned like you started all the way back when you were still in school, and I'm curious, like, did you learn a lot about how to do all or everything you needed for the job while you were still in school, or a lot of it was on the job training, or did you have to figure it all out on your own?
Well, I learned it in college, not high school. I saw Donnie in high school, and then when I went to college, that's why I took the radio classes and learned how to run the board, edit, how to enunciate. You know, they tell you W and not W. You know, pronounce everything perfectly. Talk with pace, emphasize those letters, and that's pretty much what I learned from school. And on the job, you just you learn how to be yourself. You take those tools that you learn in school, but then you don't want to sound like a robot either. So you want to put your own personality into it. I used to tape the Donnie Simpson show and try to sound like him just to do what he did. But, you can't do that once you're actually trying to do it. For real, you can't sound like him. You got to be yourself and just, bring your own personality into it. Learn how to hold a conversation, be quick with it and funny. At least I think I'm funny. People probably don't think so.
If you've got the longevity of a 25-year career, I'd say so, man. I mean, you can't we talk about this a lot with some of the more when it comes to commercial voiceover and stuff like that. But it's like you can't teach charisma.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I guess I have it. I don't know. Yeah, it's work. Whatever I have is working. So
we got humility too, so that helps. But,
it's been working. So yeah, knock on wood. I want to get fired next week. You never know.
Yeah. See, this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because I knew there would be just naturally parallels to voiceover. And you said some of the things that we hear from voiceover coaches all the time that you might not even know are being out there. Talking to one person, especially in audiobooks. One of my coaches, or several of them, actually said, if you think of the mic as the person's ear, that's how you want to address it. And some people even put a picture of an ear on their microphone. Yeah. So they're not shouting at people when they're doing their reads. They want to keep it intimate, like they're talking to one person. And that's the same thing you just said about talking to the radio audience. And then knowing how to enunciate is part of mic technique, and those things come into play too, both for radio and voiceover. So like I said, you were a little bit worried about coming on here and having nothing related to voiceover, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think all those skills are relatable.
Now, I've never heard that have the mic pretend it's an ear. That's the first time I've heard that one. It's always been like, put a picture across from you and just talk to that picture or something like that. But the ear thing is pretty cool. And you're right about the yelling. That's a hard line sometimes when you're trying, because you want to sound excited and energetic on the air too. Mm-hmm. So you got to find that balance where you're sounding energetic and not screaming at the people too. So that's kind of, you got to get used to experience. Comes with experience.
I had to learn that too. I mean, I came from stage, so we had to project to the back of the room, Definitely. And so it's really the opposite of that. But it's just, and to your point, it's easy to lose control of your voice and get it overexcited and get in over emote and stuff like that. But to your point, knowing the equipment and knowing what it's capable of, you're just better. You're able to account for that and kind of adjust your performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And one of my pet peeves early on was to just try to sound perfect on the radio, not make any mistakes, no flubbing or nothing. And, I learned just be natural. You're going to mess up and flub over words. And sometimes that makes the break even better, especially if you can joke on yourself. So, just be yourself and don't try to be so perfect, because no one is.
Well, obviously. I feel like that pressure is intensifies with the live aspect of what you do.
Yeah, that's true too. And, you got to make sure you don't lose your wits about yourself too, because if you mess up something, it can kind of throw you off, then you're just stuck. And that's when the dead air comes, and just push the button, play the song, get out of it.
That's right. Get off tilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like in live announcing, I will screw things up sometimes, and you kind of have to laugh at yourself. I remember one time I literally was laughing at myself because I couldn't spit out the name UMES, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. They were playing a game at Towson, and I was trying to go back and forth between UMES and University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and I just completely stumbled on the final score, and I said, UMBC, University of Maryland. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I literally had to apologize on the mic. And people laugh, so you can't take yourself too seriously.
That's good. I wonder if you should apologize sometimes, because that really brings attention to it when you apologize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gone back and forth with that. If something's really bad, I will say, excuse me or pardon me, correction. I do that if I mess up a an actual goal.
Yeah.
Or last Friday, I was doing a baseball game, and I announced the wrong team. Not the name of the team. Like I was looking at the lineup, and it was like number 25 was up, and instead of looking at George Mason, I announced 25 from Georgetown, and it's like, oh wait, that's the wrong team. Sorry, and then I literally had to say that on the microphone and correct it.
Sometimes that's good though. I mean, you're human, and the people on TV do that too. So they correct themselves. So it's pretty cool.
You do this part-time. How exactly does that work? And have you ever considered doing it full-time?
Well, I'll take the second half first. I would say when I got my degree in I think it was 95 when I came out. I was
what
looking.
a good year that was.
Yeah. I was definitely looking full-time. But when I graduated, I moved back home, and then I was always in the government part-time. They would let me come back during breaks from college and holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to the government while pursuing full-time opportunities. And I was actually willing to move away because that's what they always say. You probably have to move to a little town to get started and all that. I was putting resumes and air checks out everywhere. Nothing would come up. So I would say early 98, 99, I bought a townhouse because I was doing the government full-time. And I was actually, I should say I was always part-time as well. Working for the government, I did part-time. I think it was 92Q. I did for a year after I graduated. Living in Clinton, Maryland, I would drive to Baltimore on the weekends or whenever they needed me to work. Back then, it was $5 an hour too. It was just actually amazing. I would work Baltimore. I did Baltimore for a year. The $5 an hour and driving an hour wasn't really worth it for me. So I got a job at WTOP in DC, the news station. I did that once a week in the newsroom. I was just getting clips, news clips for the on-air personality there. And while I was working there, the radio station WASH was in the same building, and they actually needed a board op. So he came over and asked me, could I help board op some days? And I would actually do that. And that's how I actually got to, back then it was Clear Channel, which is now iHeartRadio, and got a job at Jammin' 99.5 for 2 years before we turned to Hot 99.5 in 2 years. So I say all that to say this. I was still looking full-time. When I was working at Jammin' 99.5, I was actually offered a full-time job, but it was not on the air. It was behind the scenes, I think assistant to the PD, although I wasn't assistant PD. It was more like an office job kind of thing.
That stands for program director for our non-radio friends.
Yes. So I actually considered it because, I wanted to do radio full-time, and I figured maybe this would lead into some on-air full-time. You never know, just to get in the door full-time. So as I said earlier, I did a intern at 92Q while I was in college, and I called the morning show guy who I interned with, Randy Dennis, and asked him his opinion about taking this full-time job in radio. And his exact quote was, "Don't you quit your good government job to go into radio full time, because they get to start tripping and you be out of a job." And so I took his advice to heart and turned down the full time opportunity and just continued to work part time, which is what I've been doing since I've been in radio.
And that guy was a legend, by the way. Like he if anyone should have had a good career in radio, it would be him. And here he's telling you, don't do it.
Right, exactly.
Sounds like it was sage advice.
Yeah. And he knew I worked for the government, and, it was so stable. Well, back then, the government was stable. And I had just bought a townhouse too. And he was right, because I would hate to get fired with a mortgage and all that stuff. So I decided to keep working in the government full time, which I'm still doing to this day, and stay in radio part time. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. And as far as me doing part time now, how I manage it is, when I fill in, I do nights during the week, and I do weekends is my normal show. So work government during the day and turn radio guy at night when they need me, or on weekends. And that's how I do it. And I've been doing that for years.
That's awesome. I'm glad you can make it work.
Cool.
So along those same lines, you and I both know some people who have transitioned from radio to voiceover, either part-time or full-time. Did you ever consider that?
Voiceover?
Yeah.
No, not until maybe the last few years.
Because of me? You saw all my shining success.
All of his wild
Well, yeah, and I was actually looking for some part-time work as well. And voiceover seems cool because you can do so many different things in voiceover. You can do cartoons, commercials. I mean, it's so many options out there. But to me, it's so hard to get and to get into. And I haven't had any luck. And what I found out trying to get into voiceovers is you have to kind of pay these sites to even get access to the job opportunities.
That is part of it sometimes.
Yeah. And to me, I was like, all right, well, no, I don't want to do all that. And so I've never really pursued it much. But when I see you announcing you are here at the stadium doing this and doing that, I think that's so cool. I would actually love to, be at the Wizards game and announcing that or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how to get into all that. So maybe in the future, I'll give it a shot and pay the sites, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, listen to the rest of this podcast, not this particular one, other episodes, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions, or be happy to help you set up a profile on one of the casting sites, or look for work other ways. It's not easy, I won't lie, but
we'll be your cheat code.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see you grinding, and I think I know you that's doing voiceover. LBD, who's a legend in the radio game, he's doing voiceover work. I think he has his own company, I think, and that's about it. I don't know too many other people that's doing it, but
it's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, and why would you want, if you've got the best of both, if you've got stability, but also the freedom to do the fun work that you want to do, I mean, what else can you ask for?
Yeah. And, one of the sucky parts about being part-time is, the full-timers always get the gigs, the live, they go to the full-timers first. I'll say that. I've had my share over the years, but, it was always probably when somebody can't do something. That's why I'm getting the call. At least they don't say that, but that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. And also, when do you got the time if you're doing full-time and part-time right now? So it's tough.
Yeah, it is. But, make it happen. I got plenty of leave in the government, so,
Cool. It does transition well into our next question, though, about events. You have met some really interesting people along the way in your career. I'm thinking back to when you were in Baltimore and even an intern. Who are some of your favorites, and who are some of the coolest people you've met?
I can't remember much about the Baltimore years, to be honest with you. Some I have a clear vision of, because we used to do a concert every summer. I forget the venue, but it's right there on the water in Baltimore.
Pier 6 Pavilion.
Yes, Pier 6 Pavilion, exactly. I think we used to call it the Summer Jam. I met Brandy there. Biggie was a performer there. I didn't get to meet him, but he walked right by me, walking to the stage. Brian McKnight back in the day. I met Jamie Foxx. He came to the radio station when I was doing the internship, and that was early in his career. Adina Howard, she was pretty hot back in the day. Recently, we have a Jingle Ball every December. It's an iHeartRadio concert, holiday concert they do. So I've met Teddy Swims recently, Tate McRae, Meghan Trainor. Early on, I met Pink Rihanna. Some of my Kelly Clarkson, who I used to have a crush on her, and she was one of my favorites when she was just coming out. Rihanna, of course, was always a good one, too. I met 50 Cent, John Legend. Nelly this year.
That's a pretty good list so far.
I was going to say, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Man.
But, when it's our show, so, they come back for the interviews, and I'm not the one interviewing, being the part-timer. I'm usually taping the interview for air. But, they still come back, then I get to meet them. But the cool thing, this year's Jingle Ball, this just past December, Nelly closed the show, and he invited the entire staff on stage with him during this final song, and we were just on stage dancing with Nelly. And
that's so cool.
In front, and it was at Capital One Arena, so 20,000 folks.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So we're talking about celebrity guests, but what, you kind of just answered it, but were there any other events that you hosted or participated in that were your favorite?
Early days, we used to do clubs every weekend. We used to do this club called Tequila Beach in D.C. Used to have foam parties every weekend. You can imagine how those went. Yeah, it just what you're thinking happened. Yeah. So clubs, these days we just do, we do live broadcasts sometimes just to kick off summer and or the occasional, typical store grand opening or something like that. And I get some, maybe once one or two a year nowadays because, like I said, they always go to the full-timers first.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back in the day, we used to do clubs a lot, and it was always cool bypassing that long line. Even when it wasn't our night, we would still go to the clubs and we get to bypass. That's just one of the cool benefits of being in radio and being known. Just bypass the long line.
Yeah, you're on the list.
In the club. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Not so much now. We don't do too many clubs actually these days. The climate has changed quite a bit. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of getting into clubs or venues, you also play music physically, like you play the guitar. How has that influenced your career in radio, or hasn't it?
I don't think it's really influenced my radio career too much. It's pretty much been a separate thing. Funny thing, I play bass guitar, by the way.
Nice. Fellow bassist here.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Now, I haven't played in years, I'll tell you that. But when I graduated college in 95, I joined a band. They were called Midnight Special for 3 years. And it was a top 40 cover band. So we did weddings and all that stuff. So, I mean, I've always loved music, and I love live music, love going to live concerts. But as far as influence in radio, not so much. Except, the benefits of getting tickets to go to the live concerts that I love so much. So,
well, yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about it in voiceover, and the reason I asked it is because a lot of people who are musicians use that when they're reading a script, because scripts tend to have a bit of a musicality to them if you have that experience, and you read the highs and lows as if you're reading a measure in a piece of sheet music, and it helps a lot with that. I wasn't sure if that translated over to doing air checks or talking to people on the phone.
Nah, not with me. I used to be able to read music too. I couldn't. You put it in front of me now, there's no way I could read music. And like I said, I haven't played bass in probably over 15 years, man. It's in my basement with dust all over it.
So who's your favorite bassist, or like what style did you play when you were, you mentioned like top 40? Is it kind of like pop or mainly?
Yeah, but we added some, with the currents. We did country, pop, R&B, rap. Now, I wasn't a singer in the group. I just played bass and did backups pretty much. One of my songs is This Is How We Do It. We used to do it. Like, I did a little rap part in that. Yeah. It's the typical wedding song and, club song. And Marcus Miller is one of my favorite bass players.
That's a great one.
Yeah, he's awesome. And Larry Graham, of course, is a legend as well. And that's pretty much it.
Very cool. So for those who don't know, like Marcus Miller is like one of the best slap bassists out there. Like dude has like, I don't know what the callus on his thumb must be like solid rock, but it's nuts to watch him play.
Yeah, he's awesome. I've never seen him in person, but these video clips, especially these days, man, you see everything on Instagram, just video clips of him jamming, and it's awesome. Yeah. And
then Larry Graham too. I think he did everything with just the thumb. It was nuts.
Really? Now, that I didn't notice. He didn't play with his fingers much?
Yeah, I forget if it was Larry Graham or someone else, but I remember he was like very minimalistic. I mean, like maybe a thumb and two fingers, but that was it.
That's pretty cool. Oh, yeah.
So you do some of your broadcasting from home, especially during the pandemic a few years ago. So what kind of home studio setup do you use?
Well, I have a Rodecaster. I think it's the first one. I know they have other versions out, but this one's doing fine, hasn't broken. So I got a Rodecaster Pro here, and a Rodecaster microphone, and a computer. And I think during the pandemic, we did our shows from home, I think for 2 years.
What's that software like when you're doing remote broadcasting for the radio?
Cisco AnyConnect is what we use.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's something that we just sign into, and we get access to the computers at the studio, and they set me up. I don't know what kind of software they put on my computer. I just had the engineers do it, and I just know how to sign in. And when it don't work, I know an 800 number to call. So these days we use something called Sound Plus, where you can, all you need is your Rodecaster, the microphone, and a laptop, and you can go, and an internet connection, of course. And you can do your show from Starbucks. You can do it from your car, because cars have internet, and you can just do it, a live broadcast anywhere. Because back in the day when they did live broadcasts, you needed a board op in the studio.
Yeah.
And nowadays, man, it's just what I just mentioned is all you need. Now, it's not live, but you just take your break, put it in the Sound Plus, and it sounds live when it comes out of those speakers.
And do you do it from where you are now, the same spot, or do you have a separate like studio when you're broadcasting remotely?
Well, I worked from home, the government, for over 15 years before that changed last year.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna go into that, but because I'm still bitter, there's no reason for us to be in the office. But okay, and so I just have a home office, and now it's home office / radio studio. It's right here on my desk, and laptop right here, and microphone, and just plug in, play.
Okay. I'll tell our listeners, because I know you're using the pod mic from Rode, which is one of their dynamic broadcast mics. It's not bad. I like it. But I'm curious about the setup. Did they give that to you? Did they tell you what to buy? And was there any sort of quality checks before you went live in 2020? Or they were just like, just do what you can and just get us on the air any way possible?
Well, during the pandemic, they gave the Roadcasters to all the full-timers.
Ooh.
And of course, nobody knew we were going to be home so long. It was supposed to be for maybe 2 weeks, I think initially they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as it went longer, I think I was off the air for about a month until I found out they were going to give it to anybody else. So I had to buy it myself. But I didn't mind that because it was at the time maybe $500 for the Rodecaster and $100 for the mic. A couple of air shifts, I'll make that back. So I figured it was worth it to just get it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to buy my own equipment, and the engineer just kind of remoted into my my system and set it up for me and told me how to set up the Rodecaster to how we needed it for our radio station. And that's how it happened. I had to pay for it myself. Of course, it's been paid off in full, but yeah, they ain't giving me anything. They just gave it to the full-timers.
And that was it? No soundproofing or getting
that's what I was curious about. Any treatment on the walls?
Nope, nothing. And you can't tell. It's amazing. Maybe it's the software or maybe the microphone, the settings. I have no idea, but no, I don't have any of those soundproofs up or nothing.
Yeah, I would agree. I remember talking about Priestley earlier. I remember him doing live videos, doing remote broadcasting with a Blue Yeti in like his bedroom.
Wow, really?
And he would show people on Facebook. That's what he was doing, Facebook Live or TikTok. But it worked. It didn't sound bad at all on the actual radio. So you're right. I don't know how the engineers do it. I don't have those kind of skills.
Yeah, and you can't, because sometimes when you're just in a room with you can hear echo, and I don't think I've ever heard an echo. Because sometimes I'll put my break in and then turn the radio on and listen, see how it sounds. Sounds fine. Like I'm right there in the studio. Technology is something else, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Derrick, this has been really cool. I'm glad we had you on to talk about radio and how it might differ from voiceover. We're unfortunately close to running out of time, but I wanted to ask you one last question. Do you have any plans to quit radio, or will they have to drag you out kicking and screaming?
They would probably have to fire me. It's still my first love, first passion. Even though I don't do it full time, I still get the benefits of full time sometimes, I filled in for weeks at a time. And when I will say this, I think it's easier to stay on full part time as opposed to full time, because if your ratings suck, they would clear out an entire staff. And, they bring a new PD in, he'll bring his own people in. But I found over the years, part-timers are always needed for that reason. Because when we've had changeover at night, I filled in for maybe 3 months straight once.
Until they hired somebody.
Yeah, until they hired the night person. It's usually at night that I fill in from 7 to midnight or 7 to 11 now. So, I think it's just easier to be on part-time. You're not really worried about ratings too much. You're worried about them, but they not really rating me because I don't really have a everyday show. But yeah, I have no plans on quitting. I'm on a young station, and I've been on. I would say we're coming up on our 25th anniversary actually this April. I'm wondering if I'm gonna age out sometimes because it's a top 40 station. But I think as long as you sound good on the air, I guess the age really doesn't matter. So
you don't sound different to me. You still sound like a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. And I'm going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off, man. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thanks so much for being on with us, Derrick. This was fascinating, and it was just cool to talk about music, bass. You were great.
So if you want to hear Derrick, or DSMOOVE as he's on the radio, you can check him out every weekend on Hot 99.5. And if you're not in the DMV area, you can check him out on the iHeartRadio app.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate you guys.
Our pleasure, man. You too.
Hey, Sean, what's a vocal booth?
It's an acoustically treated space to record voiceover, sing, or practice music.
Okay, so then what's a vocal booth to go? An acoustically treated space to eat a cheeseburger and fries?
No, of course not. Vocal Booth To Go's patented acoustic blankets, noise mitigation products, and portable booths are an effective alternative to expensive soundproofing. They're often used by vocal and voiceover professionals, engineers, and studios as an affordable soundproofing and absorption solution.
And now, check out the new Fab, the folding acoustic vocal booth, also known as the Highlander. It's an easy to set up and carry with you travel solution for recording great voiceovers on the go. Check them out at vocalbooth2go.com. Come on. Not again.
What's wrong, Paul?
Just trying to update my website, but I just don't have the skills.
Or the time?
Exactly.
Why don't you just contact Web Interactive Technologies? They have over 20 years of experience helping business owners create and maintain a professional website. Each website is unique, and you can maintain full control or let Web Interactive update it for you. Web and Tech treats every website like it was their own, and they have the knowledge and expertise to make sure you get noticed by the search engines.
Because, like they say, you can have a beautiful website, but if nobody can find you, it's pointless. Contact Web Interactive Technologies today at webintech.com. That's WEBINTECH.com. Or call 410-777-8500.
Thanks again to Derrick for being on the podcast. It was so great meeting you, man. Loved your style and loved learning more about the radio side of what we do.
Yeah, I agree. I like to say I was on radio, and I don't think I've lied about this, but it was only in college, and then some board operation. I think we said board op a lot in that interview. It means operating the console or the mixer or the board, as they call it, in a radio station. Usually someone else does that for you, or I should say in the past, usually someone else did that for you. Now more and more, a DJ is doing it all, like Derrick has to. So that's all I really did in radio. It was college and like 1 or 2 years afterwards. So I hesitate to call myself a DJ, but I kind of know the backbone of the business, and we put together the show, honestly, the podcast, much like you would do a radio show with the commercials and the inserts. So it was good to hear how that relates to voiceover or not. And I think we surprised Derrick a little bit when we were talking about how to address a mic, because he kind of already knew how to do that without even knowing. I guess it just goes to show we had a pretty good education at college. But it was a blast having him on, and good luck with the rest of your radio career, Derrick.
Yeah, best of luck to you, sir. Well, that wraps up this episode of the VO Meter.
Measuring your voiceover progress. Coming up next, we continue in the vein of having all Paul's friends on, and we're featuring Paul Williams, who is an actor, a little bit of voice actor, mostly on screen, that I used to work with in a different capacity before even knowing he was an actor, and then found out he's one of the guys from the Budweiser Was Up commercial. And if you're over the age of about 20 now, you know this is an iconic big game moment from the NFL. It was originally a big game commercial, and it's been featured ever since as one of the top moments in big game history. It's a bunch of guys just sort of shooting the breeze and yelling at each other as a way to say hi. If you know, you know, as they say. But we'll have Paul on to talk about that and how he's getting back into acting. And then, who's our next guest after that, Sean?
Casey Hott, who you actually co-hosted the Reader Awards with.
That's right. Casey is an up-and-coming voice actor, probably doing more than me at this point, so I don't know why I say up-and-coming. But she's fantastic. She's also one of the presenters at VO Atlanta, so if you're going, you will see and hear her there, probably before this comes out. So enjoy Casey at VO Atlanta.
That's all for this one. You'll hear us in the next one. Thanks for listening to this episode of the VO Meter. To follow along, visit us at www.vometer.com.
We'd also love to hear your comments or suggestions for the show. Or if you have a questionable gear purchase, tell us all about it on our Facebook page or on Twitter at the VO Meter.